Welcome everybody onto this live with myself and Laura. I'm really chuffed we're doing a second one.
I know.
Really good.
I'm so happy.
Yeah. Okay. So this is tricky. I'm not going to lie.
Okay.
I think it's not a tricky subject. It's something that I talk to clients about a lot, and actually it's something that's coming up a lot. So I work a lot with women, but even today, actually, I had somebody contact me on kind of this similar subject. So there's a lot on podcasts that's happening around this. And I was kind of thinking, how do we start this conversation? And so I was thinking about it. ChatGPT was rubbish. That didn't help me. So I went, I'll go back to my brain. And it was, how can we create safety when it comes to sexual energy?
Mm.
And
Okay.
I want to start this by a question that I asked one of my clients. So I can say this without going into any confidentiality, right? So he was having performance anxiety. So he was having a lot of pressure put on him, or perceived pressure by his partner who wanted to get pregnant.
Okay.
And so when it came down to this, it comes down to communication. But we know that the most powerful energy in the world is sexual energy, right? Because our only purpose in being here in our physical form is just to keep the species going. And there's such a lack of safety around this topic and this conversation, both men and women. And I know this is where I'm going to get myself in trouble. I know, ladies, just bear with me. I'm just saying this as it comes out of my mouth. From a media perspective, there's a lot of women are being fearful of men in regards to that physical aspect, I guess that predatory aspect of sexual energy.
Mm-hmm.
But then on the other flip side of that, I think, it's not even a thing, I know men are scared. So good men are scared and good women are scared. And there's a very small narrative that's happening over here. And as we know, sexual energy is the most powerful energy and how to harness it. And one of the things that we spoke about, or the question that I asked is, define sex. That might be a good place to start. So I know you've got a couples retreat coming up at some point, haven't you?
Okay,
so
yes.
Yeah. So I don't know if this is a conversation you have with women around this topic.
Mm-hmm.
But if you were to ask most people what sex is, they'd go, it's a penis and vagina, wham bam, thank you ma'am, job over.
Mm-hmm.
So how do you define that sexual energy, and how can we start a different conversation of understanding that it is energy and that we can transmute it into something a lot more beautiful than this carnal, predatory, unsafe space that maybe it's becoming in the media?
Okay, well, I think we first have to acknowledge that anything that's powerful in the world will be perverted or destroyed or made something that it's not. So if it's powerful, you'll be told to not go near it, or there'll be some way that it's kind of made smaller than it is, which is what we're seeing now. Like pornography makes it look like it's just two people being together, women sleeping around, men sleeping around, all these types of things. So that just shows us that it's an important thing. In my opinion, to me, sexual connection or sex itself is a time for a woman to fully embody 100% feminine energy and a chance for a man to fully embody masculine, which means that they're then at an ultimate point for manifestation as well. So, you hear people say, oh, it's a great place to manifest. Yeah, but if you're sat there trying to make love to your partner and you're just thinking about money, first of all, it's very self-serving, and then you're also not connecting to your partner. The reason it's so great for manifestation, for a woman, for example, is that she should be fully open emotionally, physically, spiritually. She should be fully surrendered into feminine, fully at peace, fully softened. And because she's in such a feminine state, she is a match. She's a full magnet for anything that her heart desires. And for him to show up and be a man, he can show up and lead. He can show up and be the man, be the king. He can create life with what he's doing, he can fully be with her as well. So he can fully step into his masculine, which then makes him a really strong magnet for whatever he's trying to build in his life. So to me, that's what sex is. It's an opportunity to fully go into the polarity that you want to be in. And it's also going to show you where you are and where you're not. There's some women that show up in the bedroom very masculine. She's ready to perform. It's like, so you're going to be the dude then, okay?
Yeah.
And then what does he do?
Yes.
Right? He surrenders, and then you're wondering why you can't have an orgasm. It's not sexy. It's not sexy for a man to do nothing. It's not sexy for a man to be like, oh, should we go have sex?
I'm with you because I get that, but I actually want to ask another question because I think this is really, I think this is interesting. I just like your opinion on this.
Mm-hmm.
If you were to ask any guy around that,
Mm-hmm.
is a woman who initiates contact, because I think there's a perception that actually men, it is just about that intercourse sex, and actually I don't think it is. I certainly don't see it from that perspective.
Mm-hmm.
I think there is a narrative that men have thought that's what it looks like, but I don't think that's what men need. Mm-hmm. And so what are your thoughts around that? Because I think that I think this is where a lot of the things are. There's men are so scared of initiating because they might get it wrong, or they might not do it the right way, mm-hmm. or they're too confused. It's just safer just to back off. Women want that from a man, but I just ask myself nowadays, it's 2024. If women are more empowered, if women are getting more equality, if women are getting more, why is it wrong that a woman should lead a man and make a man feel safe in that space and communicate that? I mean, men are very simple creatures, so I'm really interested in that, in regards to, is that masculine or is that feminine? I don't know.
Well, firstly, I don't think women are more empowered than they used to be. I think they are, which is dangerous.
Yes.
I think they're weaker because they're in their masculine. Yes. So women aren't. Do you know what I mean? We have this whole female empowerment, but if we really look at it, it's like, no, that's not empowerment, because female empowerment is vulnerable, like being completely surrendered and vulnerable. That's female empowerment, and that's because it's so powerful. A lot of women aren't in it. They want to be in their masculine. So there's that perspective which might interest you. But then, I don't think there's anything wrong with the woman initiating sexual contact. It's just the way that she does it. If I was to initiate sexual contact, I would say, I'm ready to be made love to. I'm ready. I want to be made love to. And then, passion can build from things like that. But it's really the woman's role to make sure the man knows that he's going to be wanted. If a man's in a relationship and he's like, well, Maurice is not going to want me, and Maurice, then that just tells you that there's been a repetition of the man being rejected when there's sexual energy. So that's the story, and that's why men get afraid. Whereas when a man knows that when he's wanting to move into sexual connection, he's wanting her, if she mainly says yes, then he'll never feel rejected. So it's really important for a woman, if she notices that her man isn't actually initiating, maybe he used to, maybe he didn't, maybe he's been rejected by other relationships, but it's your role as the woman in the relationship to make sure that he always feels wanted. And that is by saying yes, and it might be that you meet a guy who's been rejected a lot, so you have to do more of the initiation, which isn't you chasing him, it's you being available and ready for him. And showing him and telling him that, eventually you'll notice that he'll step up into his masculine because you keep surrendering into feminine.
And I think there's a word you said there, and I'd heard this on a recent podcast. I don't know if it was Esther Perel, the amazing Esther Perel. But the word, if we were to go back to what sexual energy is, another word for that is desire. So it doesn't have to be about that physical stuff. It can be the simple thing of touch. It can be the simple thing of a hug. It can be a glance. And I think that that's what people need to recognize, because actually, it's like anything, isn't it? If we look at energy being super powerful, if you go straight in to a nuclear reactor without kind of understanding how a nuclear reactor works, it's going to all be messy. So it is those little playful touches. It's having that fun. It's being connected, spending time, and I wonder whether that's why people are more on their devices, because they're doing this simple things over here where they're connected to something that's simple and easy, but we're so distracted that we think, oh, we've now got to do this. Because it's interesting, there's this statistic that a good sexual relationship is 3 or 4 times a week, when actually the stats actually say on average it's 3 times a month. However, even that, they're saying that actually everybody's different. So you could have once a year, but it's absolutely blow your socks off. You feel so connected. So actually, frequency isn't important. It's the quality of connection, and it's defining what, not maybe what sexual energy is, but is desire. So maybe we need to change the word. So because desire sounds something that is a little bit more powerful, right? It's desire, it's looking in, you love your kids, you do not desire your kids. You love your parents, you do not desire your parents. You love your dog, you not desire. And I think that is the difference when we talk about love and connection, is it's that desire, it's that energy. And maybe the conversation needs to change to be, if we want to have that connection, what do you desire? Maybe changing those words to make it sound softer, because desire sounds quite masculine, doesn't it? It's quite hard. But desire is more feminine. It feels safer.
Yeah, it's a bit more expansive.
Yeah,
it's more of an expansive word. I think that, it is definitely quality over quantity, 100%. It's going to be quality over quantity. It's going to be, you could have really good sex with your partner and be satisfied for a week. This is definitely a thing. Completely in tune and connected together and energized. I do think that everyone's different. I do think men can probably have sex every day. Or at least maybe every 2 days. Men can do that. Women actually can do the same thing. You get to connect with your partner, you get your sexual needs met, you feel satisfied, you feel close to them, you feel energized. The energy's moving around your body, so you'll have a clear mind, clear thoughts. You'll be more driven, you'll be more satisfied, you'll feel wanted, you'll feel loved, all of these things. So to me, it's like a medicinal thing as well. And I think when women don't want to have sex, it's because she keeps showing up masculine, and it's like a chore. It's like vacuum the carpet, get dinner ready for the kids, have sex with my husband. And I just think, okay, there's a problem, because if that's how a woman is showing up, of course she's going to get exhausted. She doesn't want to cook dinner every night for her kids because she's tired. She doesn't want to vacuum the carpet every day. She probably doesn't want to have sex every day. But when she's in a place where she can fully receive and be taken by her man every night, she's going to say yes to that. Because if it's her showing up masculine, she has to do something. And then it's like, well, there's just more things I have to do. I've already done all these things today. Now I have to go and do that. Whereas when lovemaking is, I get to be taken tonight. I get to just lay there and be made love to and become fluid with my partner. That's not a chore. That's like getting a massage every night or whatever. So I think it's the way we frame it in our mind, but it is definitely quality over quantity, because there are times when you can't do it. Life happens, let's get in the way. But if it's good quality, then that will last you. That's good energy, it will last you. And it will put you in your feminine if you're doing it in the right way. From my experience and in my opinion, men are looking for, and you can tell me this is true or not, men are going to look for the woman that can fully surrender to him. He wants her to be so fluid and surrendered that he can kind of go as deep as he wants. He can kind of go at all these different angles and move her and just have all of her, because she's completely open to her. Whereas if he has sex with a woman that's closed and she can't do this and she can't do that position and that hurts and this doesn't work and she's got it's not, I don't think it's as satisfying for a man. I could be wrong because I'm not a man.
I would agree, but I think what it on both sides, I think it comes down to communication. I think this is the thing. I think most people, and I think this might be a good opportunity for people, if anybody's struggling with this, if they're watching, a good excuse would be, hey, I was watching this live on Instagram and they were talking about kind of sex and partnerships, and I recognized that we never actually even mentioned what sex means to you, what sex means to me, how would you define it? And I think that that's got to be the starting point, where it's not kind of let's do it and what do you want and let's, you know, look at the mechanics. It's what does that mean to you? Because I think that that's really important, because if you can be open, even if it's just that little vanilla type stuff, you know, we don't have to go down any kind of fantasy or anything like that. You know, I think that men have become so emasculated that it's kind of role reversed in a way, that the woman has become in the masculine energy and the men are becoming in the female energy, and it's so messed up. So that's the reason probably why they can't communicate, because if a man's communicating his sexual desires, she needs to feel safe so she can open. And equally, the other way around, he needs to feel safe that she can express herself in a way that makes him feel safe. So it really comes down to, for me, communication and safety. So you are a woman. I don't know why I'm saying you're a woman. That sounds ridiculous. You're a woman. But if you were kind of speaking to women who are having that problem, or maybe they're too much in their masculine, or they don't know how to have that conversation, what advice would you be giving to women to allow men to feel safe?
So are you asking how does a woman make her partner feel safe? Are we talking about with the sex or in the relationship?
I think both. I think the communication piece has got to be there. But if let's imagine you've got a guy who desires his partner. He wants to have that connection. I'm not just going to call it sex. Wants to have that connection, that intimacy, because men show by doing. It's as simple as that. You know, most men show by doing. However, you know, like you say, she's too tired, she's this, she's that, she's the other, and she's probably got those desires, but like it isn't right, the mood isn't right, and she's thinking of all of these things, and she's doing her business, and she's doing all the rest of it, and she's not doing herself any favors because she's not allowing herself to relax or anything like that. What advice would you be giving, maybe for women, just to recognize that first and then start that conversation? I think that's, we've got to recognize where we are first before we can have a conversation with somebody else about it. So I mean, I'm just wondering how you would go through that if you were speaking to somebody and having this conversation with women, because obviously men are going to be listening to this. I think it's interesting to eavesdrop. It's that, how would you allow her to create that openness but feel safe in doing it?
Okay, so it's in a way that I don't really hear anyone else teaching it in the way that I teach it. So I don't tell women to learn to communicate with men. I tell women to attune with their man. So with my partner, with your partner, women can attune to what a man needs. If he feels a little bit disconnected, she can feel it. If he feels a bit insecure, she can feel it. If he wants to actually have sex, but he's not initiating it, she can feel it. So the reason she's able to do that is so that she can then open up the space for what he needs. So for example, let's say you're laying or watching a movie and you can feel that your partner is aroused. He wants to have sex. Great. Initiate it. Be with him, right? If he comes home and you can tell he's really tired and he's really upset about something, what women try and do is they try and go, what's wrong? Something's bothering you. I know it is. Oh no, it's fine. I've had a really long day. Yeah, I know, but something's wrong. Tell me. I know something's wrong. Do you know how annoying that is for a man, especially when he's tired and he's working all day, to have a woman pester him like that? And it's also very unattractive.
Can I share
I am doing
a story?
Yes.
This is actually, I can back this up with evidence. Okay. So I woke up one morning in a bit of a crappy mood, hadn't slept very well.
Yeah.
And my wife was in the shower. She comes in and she said to me, "Are you okay?
Yeah.
This is what I heard. I can see you're in a bad mood. I haven't got the energy to take that, and I need some way in which I can circumnavigate that." That's what I heard. I'm not saying that's what she said. That's what I heard. And I then emotionally vomited, then apologized, went upstairs, meditated. And what came through was, instead of what do you want, or how are you, or what's the problem, is, hey, what do you need? And I said, if you just said, what do you need? Not what do you need from me? What do you need? I said, all I would have said is, I needed a hug. And you know what? I think most men, actually, a hug is so important. So even forgetting sex, for a woman just to come up and go, I see you, I hear you, I'm here for you, hey, do you want a hug? I think is so powerful. And conversely, men, I think, when they see a woman who is in that space where she's got stuff on, actually will do that, and then they get rejected. So, hey, let me give you a hug. I don't want a hug. And yeah, so the man is, and I can understand that, because that's what a man might want, and that's what a woman wants. So it's very difficult. That it's like, get out of my space, get out of my energy, because he's trying to protect. But I guess when you talk about that masculine, I know it doesn't work like this, but if that's two men and you see your mate down the pub, you go, hey, you okay? Let me give you a hug. It's going to push you away. So that thing about the masculine actually kind of holds true, isn't it? That they kind of, the masculine is trying to protect, and they're so in their masculine that they can't surrender to allow the man to come into that space.
Yeah, 100%. So I teach it from that perspective. So, you know, what women will do, you know, let's say my friend walks into the room now and she's had a bad day. I can be like, oh, what's wrong? I can tell you about a bad day. Oh, no, it's okay, I'm fine. No, tell me, I can tell something's wrong. Well, you know, this happened. Oh, so you feel abandoned. That happened, and now you feel rejected, you feel abandoned. We can literally fill in each other's sentences because we're oracles. We can sense it all. That's the gift that we have to bring into our relationships with men. Yeah. Women aren't doing that. Women are going, what's wrong? What's wrong? I know something's wrong. No. And no. And the man will either shut down, or he will bite back, because now you're at war with me. So war meets war, right? Or he'll just completely shut down. So you'll have your outburst, or you would have just been like, I'm fine, leave me alone. So men kind of go either way. Whereas if we take it a step further, like in your situation, so let's say your wife wakes up and goes, oh, Marcus doesn't feel great today. Oh, I sense, because she would have known, and it's just a new way of doing it, but she would have sensed like something's wrong. So you think, oh, he's not having a great morning. I'm going to go make him his favorite cup of tea, just how he likes it, 2 sugars and milk, whatever. I'm going to give it to him. I'm going to give him a hug. I'm just going to say, I love you so much. I'm so proud of everything that you're doing. Here's a cup of tea. And she walks off, you'd be fine.
Yeah, and I would agree, because I think with men, I think that, and this is the thing with men need purpose. So men will drag themselves over broken glass. And I think this is actually, I think we talked about this on the last one we did, is that in many ways, women hold all the power but have lost all the power at the same time, because they are the mother, they are the entrepreneur, they are the wage earner. And there's nothing wrong with having money. There's nothing wrong with having the business. There's nothing wrong with having that. But I think when it comes to your relationships, there's a big difference between where you are in your corporate world or your professional career, and where you are when you're in a relationship. And I think that's one of the challenges, is that, and I've talked about that, there's a lot of tall girl problem. Yeah. And I think this is where a lot of this energy comes from, is the fact that women will, even if they don't like it, because this has been going on for millions of years, they're always going to try and choose above, right? They're going to choose somebody who is the more of the alpha, has the money, has the status. I don't care what anybody says. It's inbred. That's the way it looks. You never look at the bottom half. So what then happens is you've got a vast amount of women that are going for a small amount of men. And because there is a small pool of men, and the men then become arrogant, they can be, and you've got all of these guys underneath that are going, hey, I'm a good guy, I'm a nice guy, I can look after you, not maybe financially, but emotionally. And women are missing out on lots of really good men because of this. They're looking above, and because there's a small pool of men, that's where this narrative then gets pushed out of social media. So all men are bastards, all men do this, all men treat women wrong, you know. And it isn't just a man problem. And yes, there are men out there who objectify women. There are men out there that do that. You know, we know, I mean, I used to be in the police, right? So we know, and the statistics show that terrorists generally are loners that have no sexual activity. They are literally a ticking time bomb, without, you know, going down that route, but they are, because they've got all of this energy inside them, which then just snaps out. And that's the same for men and women. We've got all of this sexual energy that's building up and building up and building up, and it has to come somewhere. So it will come out in negative way. And that's why these relationships are so important, to be in our space and be in that masculine and understand it, that it's not, when you're in your feminine, it's not actually you're giving away your power, you're in your power. That is when you are at your most powerful. And that story needs to be told more, that actually you're allowed to be a woman, and it's not about subservience. And I think that's the thing.
Well, it's very vulnerable thing. So there's different perspectives here, because I don't have this in my life, but I see it obviously online, where women are like, oh, I'm not going to date him because he's under 6 foot, or I'm not going to date him because he's got a. Well, from how I see it, from my perspective, they haven't actually earned the right to have a really good man, no matter what height he is, no matter how much money he is. She's in her masculine. Men look for beauty, right? They don't necessarily stay with beauty, but they are drawn in by beauty. So she's looking for the outside, like he looks good on paper, or he'll look good on my Instagram feed if I hold his hand and all of this kind of stuff. So she's in her masculine. So she'll never actually, until she changes, she will never really meet a good man that can protect and provide, whatever that looks like, because she's not actually at that place yet. Whereas, women who, like, for example, having a man that financially provides for her. So a lot of women will say, well, you have to have your own finances. They'll say you have to have your own work, or all these things. And yeah, that might be true. I mean, obviously I make money through my business, but to be able to fully surrender and be financially looked after by my partner is probably one of the most vulnerable things that we can do as women, is to actually, it's not even about like, oh, he bought you a nice car and he made you a nice house and he pays your bills, how lovely. It's more about the gift of a woman, if she can be so vulnerable that he's fully financially in charge, because what can happen is that if something goes wrong in the marriage, she's got nothing. If you look at it from that perspective financially, if she's got no job, no income, and he's in control, say the word control in a good way, of all of that, she's kind of stuck with him if something goes wrong. So it's a big ask. Women look at it the wrong way around. They want a providing man just so that she can have nice things and that she doesn't have to worry. But really, from the feminist perspective, it's very brave and it's very feminine and very honorable to have a man that fully provides for you and provides financially, because you are literally putting your whole life in that man's hands. You're trusting him completely. You're trusting him to run the finances properly. You're trusting him to invest in the finances properly. You're trusting him to, to build the next home, or to build this home, or buy the home, or whatever. So you're fully surrendering your life, your whole life, to one man. That's really vulnerable. So women will look for a man that will provide so that she can have a nice life. And maybe she'll find it, but she won't be that happy. A woman who is just willing to be so vulnerable that he's actually like the leader of the life, that is actually what softens you into feminine. And when you bring those energies into the bedroom, you've got a man that feels that he's allowed to fully lead the life and in the bedroom. You've got a man that fully wants to provide, and it's not going to be 100%. If life happens, as women, we have to have the strength. If your partner loses his job, you have to be able to step up. You know what I mean? Like, I could fully financially provide. If something went wrong, my partner couldn't work for the next year, and if he didn't have any savings, I could work, and I could my whole family would survive because of me. I could fully do that. I'm fully capable of doing that. And we have to be like, that's our masculine energy. We've got to be able to be capable, because things happen. Accidents happen, people get fired, like, just life happens. So women have to be able to do that. But when you have a man fully in his masculine role and a woman fully in her feminine, being vulnerable and open, and him taking charge, bring that into the bedroom and you're going to have great sex. Even if it's for 5 minutes, it's still going to be fantastic. Obviously, it takes a woman 45 minutes to get to where she wants to get to, usually. But you will have better quality sex if you're letting him lead. A lot of the time, men want to lead, but women don't let them. Or they reject them.
And
fully trying to lead. Right?
And I think that's the reason why a lot of men aren't actually bothering now, because it's just not worth it. So they're transmuting that energy that they would give to somebody else into other things, good and bad, because they believe that if I have the money, if I have the wealth, I have this, I have to put up here. But that's not true. That's not true. I mean, we could talk about this forever, but if you were to give a top tip to to women, any women that are here,
Yeah.
that how they can make their man or men feel safe without maybe surrendering. Because when we say surrender, it sounds like a weakness that I'm surrendering. It's not. How they can be in their power and be in their strength and surrender and allow the good leaders. I'm just thinking this from a business perspective. Good leaders create more leaders. And there's that phrase, behind every good man, there's a good woman. Now, I know that's an old phrase, but it's actually true, because when the power dynamic is correct, actually they are whole. They're two wholes that come together, and they fulfill their roles to support each other. So it isn't up and down. It's a movement where you work in synergy. And like you say, Brené Brown has probably got the best analogy of this, as she talks to her husband, that when they're down, they'll say, okay, I'm at 20%. And he says, I'm at 100, I can cover you, and vice versa. But at the point they're at 20%, we need to sit down and talk. So I think my question would be, from a female perspective, how does that woman step into a feminine and allow the man to lead without feeling that she's lost any power? Does that make sense? Because we're seeing this, the narrative is that this is what power looks like. It's the masculine, it's the patriarchal masculine. So how can women feel that they're in control, but also surrender at the same time? I know that sounds like a paradox, but you know what I mean? Because I think that's what the confusion is.
Yeah, well, actually, I mean, to me, control is an illusion. Like, what are we really in control of? I'm in control of holding this cup of coffee. I'm in control of what I want to say to you. I'm in control of things that are around me, but I can't really control anyone. I can't control what my partner does. I can't control what you do. I can't control what my friends do. So when we realize, to me, surrender is a sigh of relief. That's how it feels to me. Being in my masculine for so many years, because I teach this from that perspective, right? Just masculine, go-getter, do this, do that, hustle, make money, do all these things. Flat out exhausted at the end of it, like most women, because it's not our natural state of being. When I found opportunities to surrender, it was like a sigh of relief. Oh, I don't have to pay bills anymore? Okay. Are you going to get that coffee for me? Okay. Right? Oh, you want me to just lay here? You want to make love to me? Okay. Like, it's a relief. Women think that a lot of people are looking for a dopamine hit. They're looking for that, like, quick. They're addicted, right? Their bodies aren't nourished properly. They're thirsty. They are not aligned with the purpose, and they're with a lot of people are actually in the wrong relationship, sadly. So everything's completely skewed and backwards. So when you meet a man who makes you feel like, oh, thank you, like I can relax and say yes more often, that will push her into the feminine. But she does need to be there first. So I did a masterclass on this for anyone who wants to watch it. You can buy it on my website because I recorded it. I gave my 5 top tips of how to soften into your life, because you need to learn to be soft in order to attract masculine. So women are like, oh, I'm masculine, but when I meet the right guy, I'll soften. No, you have to soften first to be a vibrational match to the masculine man, right? So, like, there's little things like, first of all, look at your environment. Like, if you're surrounded by stress, toxic people, I don't even like using that word, but let's just say stressed out people that want to complain, people that want to whine, do you think that you can relax and soften around those types of people? So you have to make sure your environment's good. You've got to make sure that you're eating the right things for yourself. You have to make sure that you're fully satiated in yourself, satisfied in yourself, because otherwise you're going to chase the wrong thing. Like, if you don't love yourself, if you don't trust yourself, if you're not confident in yourself, you're just going to keep bringing in the wrong people and continuously re-traumatize yourself. So a softer life is like slowing down, simplifying things. Like, simplify things. You don't need any more shoes. I'm sorry, but you don't need any more shoes. You don't need another handbag. You don't need to fill up the fridge again. There's already food in the fridge, right? Women are just constantly consume. Men do the same. And all you're doing is looking for a dopamine hit, and you're just attracting chaos into your life. Simplify everything. You do not have to. We have a gift of multitasking. Doesn't mean we have to live through multitasking. Do one thing at a time, right? And enjoy it. If I'm going to sit here and have, like, I wanted to go and get a cup of coffee this morning. My favorite coffee shop is down the road. I got my coffee. I can just sit here and surrender to the conversation, enjoy my coffee, enjoy the conversation, enjoy the comments, and just completely surrender to this. But if I was thinking, oh, I'm going to also just send this email quickly while you're talking, yeah, go on, I'm listening. Oh, I'm just going to put some sugars in my coffee. Oh, go on, I'm listening. Like, you're not actually being present in the moment. You're not softening, you're not slowing down, and you're doing a million things at once. So having a simpler life, an easier life, you don't have to hustle so much. You don't have to chase this dopamine fix. I mean, it's so debilitating, isn't it? To be like, oh, yes, I feel really good. Oh, I lost it again. Oh, it's so degrading, and it's debilitating, and it just wears you down over time.
And I think one of the things that you've said over and over again, and this is something that I always teach people, is you don't want another half. I think when we have another half, if that person doesn't fulfill our needs, then we feel that we're half. And the work that you do, which is in a different way than what I do, but I think we both help people become whole, and they have a path of authenticity, and it's the ability to be able to speak your authentic truth and say, this is who I am. I mean, I really struggled going through this, going into my feminine, and going into that kind of goddess. I'm kind of coming back round circle. I'm coming back into my masculine again, but in a softer way, that I don't have to be too harsh with that. But what I've recognized is that there are a lot of men that are going into the feminine because, as I've said before, 8% of people in well-being are female, 80% of people accessing well-being are female, 76% of suicides are men. And the reason for that is that the body and the mind is saying you have to be the leader, but the world is telling you can't be a leader. And if you stand up, you're going to get shut down. Do you know what? That is the problem as a man. That's those is the kicks that you've got to put in. But there's a way in which you do that, and all of that sexual energy. I think that's why I get a lot of clients that say I'm addicted to porn. No, you're not, because you hit the nail on the head. You're not addicted to porn. You're addicted to dopamine.
Yeah.
You're not addicted to porn. All addiction. There's only two addictions, as far as I can see. You're either addicted to cortisol, or you're addicted to dopamine.
Yeah.
And normally you're flitting and flighting from the thing. Whatever the result of you doing, whatever you're doing to get that, is not really the addiction. The addiction is either you're addicted to cortisol, so you're in that stress state all the time and you're not present with yourself. And to get out of that, you're looking for as James Clear said, I don't know if you've read Atomic Habits, cue, craving, response, and reward. So there's a cue comes in because I'm really, really stressed. The craving is I need that dopamine hit. The response is I'm going to do something quick, fast, and easy. And maybe we need to stop doing this. Okay, we're on our phones, we're doing this, we're doing it in the bedroom, sex, done, sleep.
Yeah.
And start to bring in desire. I have a great, I don't know if I'm sure you do this, but have you ever done the technique? And I absolutely would recommend this to anybody. Is you sit together in silence, hold each other's hands, and stare right into each other's eyes for about 30 seconds.
Yeah.
And then after that, you take turns in telling the other person what you see, and you listen to that higher power. So it might be, I see that you're in pain. I see your beauty, whatever it is that comes up, right? And every time I've done it when I've been at conferences, I've done it always, and every time I do it, it always cries into release, but it's a massive connection. That's desire. That's when you're doing that with your partner, that's sex. Hugs, sex. Touch is sex, because sex is desire. And it's and I think we need to get back to saying, how do I desire my partner more? And desire could be, I can see you're stressed, I'm going to make you a cup of tea. Either way, right? But I'm just saying it's that. But that's sex. That's desire. I see you and I want to serve you. And it's being in our right energies and serving each other with balance and creating that desire. And I think when you create that desire, I think that's why when people are stressed and not having sex, but they might go on holiday, all of a sudden they're in a new environment and they reconnect with each other, and that desire comes back because they're giving themselves time.
Yeah. 100%.
So I think that's the most important thing. So I think maybe that conclusion is that, how can I bring more I desire my partner more might be a softer and gentler way of saying, how can we have sex more? How can we desire each other more? How can we connect with each other more?
Mm. And I think we also have to take that and then bring it inwards as well. Like, how do I become more desirable to my partner? Whether you're male or female, you know, if I've spent the morning complaining to my husband that he didn't do something right, does that make me a desirable partner? Does that make me someone he wants to be intimate with? And for him, if it's like, oh, I didn't, you know, men that can't make decisions is one of the things that women don't find super attractive. For him to be like, let's go out for dinner, we'll go here, or I'll book it for 7, easy. You know, so if a man is like, oh, you know, I didn't really lead the evening, or I didn't really make any decisions, I didn't make her feel safe, then that doesn't make the man a desirable partner for a woman. So we have to look at ourselves as well. And for women, you know, for women to take accountability, I talk about this a lot on my channel, because a lot of women don't want to take accountability. They just want to blame other people. They want to blame men. And women, if I say to women, if you want to grow, like you really want to be a good wife, or you want to grow, learn to say sorry. It's a very big superpower. And trust me, the response of men when you say, I'm really sorry about that, I shouldn't have done that, and I'll try not to do that again, the response that you get from a man is usually shock, because they're so not used to women apologizing.
I would agree 100%.
Every man I go, I've never said it to a man, they've gone, no, they always say, wow, thank you. Okay. They're really shocked, because women are really, a lot of women are not very good at that. So, you know, looking at yourself and going, how do I make myself a desirable spouse? And for women, you know, for both men and women, it's physical as well. But for women, you know, our beauty is our gift as well. Our beauty is our superpower, you know, and we have to be realistic. You know, do I feel attractive in my own body? Do I feel attractive in what I'm wearing? If I wake up and don't make any effort with my appearance, just throw on a pair of sweatpants and go outside, do I really feel attractive? Do I feel like my partner will desire me? Because men do look for beauty. And one of the great things about being with a man that you love and respect is that you actually want to become the best version of yourself. Like, a woman is the representation of the man, and she's the representation of the relationship. If I'm, whether I'm with my partner or not, if I'm walking around town, I want to look my best. I want people to be like, oh yeah, that's Mohammed's woman. Look, she's beautiful. That's his woman. I want people to see me as that, because I represent him and I make him look good. And that's my role as a woman, is to make him look good, because men are all about power and status. I want him to come across powerful by having an attractive woman. So these types of things, women need to remember that. A lot of women don't want to make any effort with themselves, let alone for their partner. And a lot of women just want to say, oh, you know, he loves me for who I am. Okay, I'm sure that's true. I'm not saying that's not true, because I'm sure it is true. But when you make an effort with yourself, it shows that you respect yourself. It shows that you respect him. You know, it shows that you care about how he looks as well. So it's all about, as well, am I desirable?
And I would say vice versa, because I think that's where that comes to that leadership thing, and allowing the man to lead, and allowing the man to, you know, give him that opportunity to lead. Men are quite simple creatures, to be honest. We don't really need much, and you give us a little thing and we're like so blessed for that. And I just think that I would hope from this conversation that more men and women who are following. So thank you, everybody. I love your comments. Put some comments in what you think about this. But I think we all need to change this narrative, because I think so many people are getting harmed. Nobody's winning. Nobody is winning.
Nobody's winning, and everyone's trying to win at the same time. There's something very, I mean, for me, I stepped out of, I used to be very in the spiritual communities, you know, I used to really dabble a lot in that. My teachings were in that, and I stepped away because it was so self-serving, and everyone's trying to be the goddess and the king and queen of their life. How about just being human? How about just being a good woman? How about being a good wife? How about being a good man? And it just kind of repelled me in the end. I was like, this is everyone trying to bypass the fact that they're here having a human experience, and they're here to be human. It's complete bypassing. It's like, when I mean, look, take this as you want, but I recently I changed my diet. I switched to the carnivore diet about over a month ago. And for the first time in my life, my body is completely
I'm laughing because I've kind of done the same thing.
Have you?
Yeah. That's really funny.
It's very, like, because I realized probably the same as you did. Like everything we're eating is not real food. You know, my body doesn't want. My body's not craving for red. My body's not craving. You know, it's just eating the proper human diet, which is meat, basically. So I switched to that. And when I switched to that, and if you do this, you'll probably get the same thing. Suddenly I was like, I'm so satisfied and so satiated. I need nothing. I need nothing. I'm not into self-service. I'm not going to sit and try and manifest $100 million. I'm not going to try and manifest this, that, and the other. I'm so satisfied with my life as it is. And it gives you, it really humbles you. It's a very simple life. You eat the same foods a lot, but you're fully satisfied. There's no gluttony or greed because you're not getting pleasure out of food. You're just eating to survive.
Yeah.
And you're fully nourished. And so it really brings you down to a very humble, satisfying place in your life where you just really don't need anything outside of yourself. But most people, and we'll see this in our industry, because most people don't eat the proper human diet, and they think that plants are good for you because that's what they've been taught. Yeah. They're so malnourished. They're hungry, Marcus. That's it. They're just hungry. Yeah. I want that guy. I want that money. This went wrong. I'm so emotional. I'm crying today. Now I'm angry. Now I'm happy. You are so malnourished and you're hungry. And you think that guy, the dopamine, you chase the dopamine. You know what I mean? When you switch to just eating meat and you're actually living they call it the proper human diet. That's it. It's the proper human diet. Suddenly, women become very peaceful because they're not getting that insulin. All their emotions, they can feel everything, but they need nothing. So
I would agree with you from a mental clarity point of view. It does balance. Even though I do use lion's mane, I just had sugar bit and ginger, so I still put those nutrients in. Take magnesium and stuff like that. I still do those supplements and stuff like that for brain health. But switching this up, even though I didn't have a rubbish diet before, I wasn't doing ultra processed foods, and I think that kind of, we've got the word desire, but I think the other word that's coming up is nourishment, and I think there's, when you give yourself what is natural. So we're talking about food, but I think on this subject of we are safe when we are in our natural form and in our natural state, and you've got to ask the question is, and I always say this, I know it sounds like conspiracy theories, but if you want to control the population, take them out of their natural state, because you create stress. The dorsal prefrontal cortex, which is our social brain, shuts down, and all of a sudden the brain and the mind is chattering all over the place, and you've got a million conversations, and you're not present. So I think we've got to look at, and when we know that, I believe the same way, that our external environment is a direct reflection of our inner environment. So I think that you've got to look at that. And I don't know about any of the guys on here, but this kind of ultra kind of skinny kind of, this, that's harmful for women, and men aren't attracted to that. I don't believe they are. I don't believe they are. And it's not good for women. Women's bodies should change. They should go through, and the same with men, and like you say, if we're eating the proper foods and our bodies are getting nourished, our bodies will change as they're supposed to change, and they will flow. And again, I think there's that thing about loving. You've got to love yourself. This does come down, you've got to do the self-love work first. You've got to do that. And I think that's the only way you can then, if you can't love yourself, how can you love somebody else? But I think that, I know we've been on for ages and we'll speak forever, but I think the two words that I think when we started with this very energetic sex, and it's beautiful how this has softened really into two words, which are nourishment and desire. So I think if anybody's struggling with this, maybe, how can we nourish our lives a little bit more together? How can we create more desire in our lives? How can we feed ourselves emotionally? How can we feed ourselves physically in a way that is natural? And I think, I'm sorry.
No, it's just because it is interesting, like the nourishment piece with women and their emotions. Like I've said this so many times, like when a man is in his protector provider energy, a woman feels completely safe. And the reason she feels safe is because he's in his true role. So then women come to me and go, well, I'm really emotional and he just doesn't want to be around me. So what that tells us is that a woman being emotional is not her natural state of
Yeah.
womanhood. If it was, the man would be all over her in all these emotions that she's feeling. What men are actually asking for is peace, because
Yeah.
that is the natural state of women. Women get upset when I say that, and the reason she gets upset when I say that is because she knows she's not peaceful.
Yes.
Right? So she then hears, no man's going to ever want me, I'm alone forever. So that's what she hears, and that's the pain that she speaks when she tells me that I'm crazy and on crack,
Yeah.
all these crazy comments. So when a woman is nourished and she's eating the right foods, she's peaceful.
Yes.
Like, as soon as I shifted my diet, I'm not arguing with anyone. 2 plus 2 is 7. Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. I'm not arguing with you. Like, I'm not arguing with anyone. No one can take my peace unless I give it to them, and I just really do choose not to. So it really shifts everything. And for women that they feel that their emotions are really erratic, and she's crying all the time. I just did a women's retreat. Okay, so I've spent the weekend around women that are crying, but that's obviously what it's there for. But there are plenty of times where there was no need for crying, and yet there was, because women are so in their emotions. They romanticize their emotions. They look for validation. They turn into children. They're looking for daddy to save her, mummy to save her, and then that gets put on the husband, and the husband goes, I don't want to deal with this. And then he is told that he's toxic when she's toxic.
Now, somebody just put in something just came up saying, when I asked my man what about peace, he said conflict resolution. Now, this is really interesting. When we're having conversations, don't direct a question in a way that kind of, if you're speaking to a man, don't direct that's going to put a barrier. You're going to put him in a corner. So yeah. I just wanted to pick up on this one, just from a man's perspective. A better question is, what does peace mean to you? Or if you were to, what does that feel like? So not logically, if you were to say, what does peace feel like? It's not conflict resolution, because the word conflict wouldn't come in there. Conflict resolution might be a process to peace. But when you ask a question, we're emotional beings. 95% of everything we do, I do a lot of this work. When we talk about anxiety, people go, oh, my anxiety. You don't think anxiety. This is why talking therapy doesn't work. We feel anxious.
Mm-hmm.
And actually, we don't even feel anxious because our body has been, our only job is to procreate, right? Yeah. I've said this a million times. Yeah. And to do that, we need to find people that make us feel safe so we can bring children up. And that's the whole point of it, right? But if we're not in our natural state, then we're not going to be able to create that safety. And when a woman doesn't feel safe around a man, then she's going to attack because she's protecting the children. But that doesn't happen if the man is doing his job. Like, I always use lions, right? They're the perfect example. Mm-hmm. Is that the lioness is very protective around the cubs, but when the cubs fly the nest, she returns back to that state of being of service to the male lion. Mm-hmm. And women are powerful. You look at a pride of lions, the women do rule the roost, and all they need to do is let the man prance around, be the protector, be the provider. But you look at a pride of lions, the women definitely are the ones that are in charge. But they allow the man not to think he's in charge, but they allow him to be in charge of what he's good at. Yeah. So that they can look after the kids, they can look after all of that sort of stuff. Yeah. And there's nothing wrong with that. And I think that, it's so important to understand that being a woman, women are gods. They create life. You don't get any more powerful than that. Mm-hmm. So I truly, as a man, don't understand why you wouldn't want to step into that power. And I think the biggest thing is that the media and everybody else is creating this picture and is pushing this stuff in. I think you need to go inside and feel. I think that's the thing. That's why nourishment, desire, it's a feeling. So anybody who's having conversations and asking what peace is, what sex is, use the word feel, because what does sex feel like to you? Mm-hmm. Tell me about that feeling. What does desire feel like to you? Tell me how you'd like to be desired. If I was to nourish your soul, how would that feel? Mm-hmm. Because when we ask like a what or a how question, which is kind of logical, then we can go, oh, we do this, we do that, we do the other. But when we feel, we have to, and I'm doing it now. Look, I'm physically touching my body when I want to feel. So I think in answer to that person's question, what is peace? That's a logical question. Tell me what peace feels like. And a tell me question is open, it's expansive. So I think if people want these conversations, really, really sit in that emotion and use the feel question. Hey, what does good sex feel like to you? What does connection feel like to you? And I think that if we think about how we phrase our words, I always say this: wizards and witches, right? We learn spellings. Words are spells.
Yeah.
And they will cast a certain spell depending on how you do them. So I think for those people that are asking those questions, I think if we can always think about how is that going to feel? How do you want to feel? So if you've got a narrative or you've got a story or you want to bring peace, you want to bring love, what is your version of love? What does love feel like to you? How does love express itself? How does sex express itself? What is the thing that you need, you desire? What is it that you want to feel? Because good sex is a feeling, it's not an act, right?
Yeah. And it's a feeling afterwards as well. The feeling of complete satisfaction and rest. Like you kind of floating out of your body, your energy's moving through the body, you're completely satiated and relaxed. Because women will ask similar questions to me, like, well, and they'll tell me like, well, this is what I think love is, this is what I think peace is. But if they've never experienced it before, I guess we have to go, we have to look for it. Like if you'd have said to me, a few years ago, Laura, what is peace to you? I could probably give you some words. I don't know if I could really tell you or explain a time where I felt it, because I don't think I had ever felt it until I met my partner. I never knew what it was. When I met him, I was confused. I was like, what is this? Like, I just feel like I want to just melt. It was a very strange feeling. And when I went on my second date with him, he had to answer the phone towards the end. He had an employee ringing him. So he answered the phone. And we were standing on the beach, and he put his arm out like this to me. He's like, come here. So he was on the phone like this, and he pulled me in, and I rested my face on his collarbone here, facing inwards. And I probably stood there for about 8 minutes. I didn't move. And my whole body kept sighing, like I was like, what is happening? And what I realized as I got to know him was that my nervous system was completely resetting, and I was going into peace. And then when I wasn't with him, I'd noticed like, I feel really a bit stressed, a bit chaotic. And then I would just think of him and my whole body would soften. And then obviously the longer I've been with him, now my life is just very peaceful. But I wouldn't be able to tell you what peace was until I met him. He's so masculine, not with what he does, not with what he says, but just the fact that he exists.
Yeah.
I feel safe.
Yeah.
So that's that masculine container that men can actually get to, if they want to.
Yeah, and I think we've got an hour already. We're going to have to wrap this up. But one of the things that I do want to ask.
Yeah.
Okay, and I already know the answer, right?
Okay.
All of this stuff, I think I know the answer anyway. I'm projecting this on myself, right? But for you to go through that journey to help other people, I'm going to make a massive assumption that you had to get that help from other people. You had to surrender to getting the help, to have the conversations. And I've seen a few things that have come up saying, I need this, she's not doing this, she's not talking to about that. You can't put the burden on the other person. You have to go and do the work yourself. And if you don't do the work yourself, you've got to go and get the help from people who have been on that path, that have gone through that. You've got to take the responsibility, man or woman. You cannot expect your partner to fulfill your needs. You have to fulfill your needs and understand who you are. Do your trauma work, do your healing, because when you do that, when somebody is healed, when somebody is fully present with themselves, that is the most powerful sexual energy, ever. A woman who is super confident, who knows how to set boundaries, who can show up sexually, can show up beautifully, is actually desired in a completely different way.
Mm-hmm.
Because a powerful woman, men, I'm not going to say men are scared of powerful women, but a powerful woman, they won't disrespect. And a powerful man, women won't disrespect, because they won't allow that to happen, because they'll have the boundary. And that only comes from doing the self work. So if you want to attract a partner that's going to support you and be with you on that journey, you have to become whole first.
Yeah.
And I think that is the key. You've got to understand your own energy. You've got to be able to create that energy inside you, and be able to hold and contain that energy peacefully.
Yeah. Yeah. And as a woman, you know, a lot of women say to me that they're looking for their equal. You know, I've done all my work now. I feel whole, and now I'm looking for my equal. And I say, women, you shouldn't be looking for your equal. You should be looking for your leader. Don't look for your equal. You don't want your equal. Your equal is another version of you. That your masculine version of you is going to have all the things that you don't do. Like, my partner can hustle. I can hustle, but I can't do it for very long. I'm tired. I can't do it. He can hustle 24/7 without sleep. I don't know how he does it. And he'll still stay really calm. He won't get angry, upset, or emotional. He just stays very placid, right?
Because it's purpose. That's purpose driven.
It's his purpose.
If men have got purpose, they can just
he has a purpose.
Yeah.
He's got a purpose. He's building. He's built. He's created this incredible life for himself. I'm so proud of him and everything he does. And he can literally go without sleep just so that he can call the employees and get the workers and do all this stuff. So he can do that. I can't do that. But what I can do is make sure that he's always fed, and he's always made love to, and he's always told that he's loved, and I'm the most peaceful version I can be when he comes home. So that's what we're looking for as women. We're not looking for an equal, we're looking for a leader. If you're looking for an equal, then maybe there's still a bit of work to do, because you do want to be with someone that loves themselves. Like you said, it's really, really important. I've dated men in the past that didn't love themselves, and I like who I am, and I'm very confident. So all that meant was that the man is going to rip me down. He's going to tear me down and call me names and tell me all these things, because he's not at a confidence level that I'm at. So when you're with a man that really loves himself and likes who he is, he's going to admire you. And then you're going to have equal footing, but it's going to allow you to surrender and for him to lead.
Yeah. So I think with those questions, I'm assuming just from the names, a lot of them were men, but they were looking out for the women to do something and to create that. And guys and ladies, you've got to go and do the self work. You've got to go and do it. There's no other way. You know,
there is no other.
There is no other way. And I mean, David's put there, women love money. You know. Women don't love money. Women love energy. Money is energy, and that's just a myth. Women don't love money. Women love to feel safe, and it's just that society has said that money equals safety. Well, we know that that's not true. We know that.
Well, she wants a provider, but it's not even about the money. It's about, like, it takes a lot of discipline for a man to make money. So she wants a man with discipline. She wants a man with purpose. But the thing that always just tickles me is that the men I've known in my past that have got a lot of money, they'd never say something like that. No. It's the men that worry about women wanting their money are the men that don't have any money. It's very, like, it's comical, but they're worrying about something. It's their excuse to not make any. Right? I don't want to make any money because then I'll be used. The truth is that you haven't tapped into your masculine drive to go out and make that yet.
Yeah.
You're not going to make it in an instant. That's dopamine again. It takes time, right? We know it takes time to make money. It takes time to build a foundation. It takes time to build a business. Whether, you know, you left the police force and started this, so it would have taken time for you to get on your feet again. It's taken me time to get on my feet, right? That's just life. But you have the discipline and the drive to keep showing up and keep doing it. That's your
work and continue to do the work. I think that's the other thing. Right. And I think that, rounding that up as well, I think that this isn't a fix. This isn't like you do a course, whether in any of your relationships, but the relationship with self is an ongoing process. And we're always discovering something new. And I think that comes back to that word desire. I desire of myself to be more of myself. I desire of myself to be more for others. I desire for myself to understand more. And that's the journey of life. That's what makes relationships great. When you find that new thing, that new, you know, that new look. And as our bodies change, you fall in love again. So said, do you think that men need women? See, I think that's the wrong question. I don't.
What question would you ask?
Do men need women? I would say I don't like the question need, because I don't see it as being a need. I see it as a union of two whole people coming together who choose to be together rather than a need. I think the word need is, when I hear need, it's I need that because there is something in me that I haven't fulfilled.
How about, because I understand that thinking, because I used to think the same thing, like we don't need it, we want it. So that's different. It gives us a different it's a different energy to it. But then this is how I kind of see it, because I will honestly say I need my man. I need him. And he needs me. And the reason I say that is because, like, if you think about, if I say to you, do you need food to survive? You would say yes. Would the word need food be repelling? No, it's life. We need food to survive, right? We need food. Do you need water, clean water to drink? Yes. Do you want it or do you need it? You need it, right? You need hot water to wash. I need my man. I need him. And it's not from like a needy place of like, I can't survive without you, because actually I can survive. I just choose not to, right? So it is still a choice. You're right. It's still a choice. But I think there's something powerful in saying that you need that person. Like, I met the best.
There's a difference between need and needy. I think that's probably the
Yes.
differentiator.
So it's not needy. It's like,
yeah.
like you're not like, oh my god, I need food, and I'm like, oh, you're so needy. Why do you want breakfast? You're so needy. It's like, it's not like, it's just genuine. You need food, and you need love.
Yeah, and like you said, and it's the need of the right food. So when when that question comes up, it may come from a place of, I have been feeding myself with a relationship that isn't nourishing me. So it goes back to that word nourishing.
Yes.
But actually, if you were to start to nourish yourself in a relationship that fulfills you, and that energy is flowing and coming back, then you do need that, because you realize, that was part of me. That's part of me that needs to be desired. That's a part of me that needs to feel connected. That's At the end of the day, we are social creatures, and we are not intended to be on our own. That's how we've survived. But I think that's I think that food analogy that we come up is really important. Is that, what are we feeding ourselves? What is the narrative? I think that's probably a good one to end on, really, is to say, when we look at sexual energy, when we look at all of this thing, is what type of sexual energy, like food, are we feeding ourselves with? Is it ultra processed sexual energy, or is it nourishing energy that we desire? And maybe we need to go back and relook at what sex means to us, how a nourished relationship looks, and what we truly desire, and connect with our body, and get out of our head and go, actually, what does it look like to me? How does that feel? Because we know that when you said it and I've said it, when you talked about that carnivore diet, you didn't tell me the logical stuff. You went, it made me feel. So I think when we talk about needs, I think we need to probably think about this sexual energy of, how does that fill me up? So when I think of sexual energy coming into my body, is that nourishing me, or is it just giving me a dopamine hit? And I would probably say to people, what would it look like? What would it feel like if I was more nourished to think about sexuality?
That's it.
That's it. I think we end it there. I like that.
That's it. It's perfect.
Awesome.
That's perfect.
Do you want to plug your retreat now? I know it's not on sale yet, but I'm just thinking, because I saw it on your website, and I noticed it was a man and woman thing. So I was like, oh my god, that seems. What is it about? What is it you're going to be doing?
It's not a retreat yet. It will be. It's not a retreat yet. So I'm making a couples course. So I'm in the middle. I'm actually filming it today. How to be the wife, the woman, how to attract a man, how to keep a man. And I'm also doing one for men as well. So couples can use this if they want to, how to be a good husband, how to, the duties of a husband, the duties of a wife, things like that. So that's what it's going to be. It's going to be available probably within the next week or two.
Okay.
So if people go to my website, they can put in their email and I can email them when it goes up, when it launches, because it will probably be my most popular course.
Yeah,
So
and I think it's so needed. And I think anybody who's watching this, just share this and just put some comments in. Just tell us, was this something? Did you get some diamonds? Did you get some gold?
Yeah.
Were there some different perspectives that maybe we came up? I think for both of us as people that are trying to create content and help people, anything you can tell us that you're stuck with, that we can try and serve. I didn't think we'd be doing a second one, but I loved doing the first one. So I'm so glad when I messaged you and, hey, I've had this thing, this is coming up. How do you fancy doing this?
Yeah.
And it's been amazing. And thank you, because I really didn't know how the conversation was going to go, but I feel quite good around those words, desire and nourish, especially nourish.
Nourish.
It just
nourish is important. Is it nourishing you or depleting you?
Yeah. And I think if we think of that in the same way of our food, then we could go down a whole different thing about eating stuff, but we won't go there because that was just...
Or maybe we'll come back in a few months with a carnivore chat. I'm actually going on. Do you know Dr. Chafee, Anthony Chafee?
No.
He's one of the biggest teachers with the carnivore diet.
Okay.
He's a surgeon. I'm actually going on his podcast in a couple of months' time to have a conversation.
Okay.
So there's been quite a few of the popular carnivore people wanting to talk to me about it, which is, I want to talk about it from a, if you want to be the most feminine version of yourself, go on a carnivore diet. Yeah. You'll soften, you'll surrender, you'll be nourished. But mental health stuff, meditation, breath work, we do all these things because we're malnourished.
Yes.
The religions that are looking for enlightenment, they don't eat meat. So they're looking for something else. They're hungry. They're not nourished.
They're looking for something that's outside of them.
For something, and then as soon as
everything you need is inside of you.
Exactly.
Yeah. And this is it. Yeah, I agree. There's so much disassociation, and that is actually one of the biggest challenges that I think we've got, is that when it comes to this topic as well, is that, and this is the work that I do, every answer you ever want, you already have. Yeah. And it's just that's what we do. We help people unlock the answers that they already have, because your body and your mind is trying to communicate with you. Yeah. You just have to listen.
Yeah. And there's so many times where your body, if your body's not nourished, it's going to seek everything. It's going to, maybe I need dopamine, maybe I need cortisol, maybe I need that guy, maybe I need that pair of shoes. You don't need anything. When I first started eating that way, I remember going to a shopping mall and I looked around and I was like, I don't need anything in this shopping mall. I don't need anything, nothing. I'm good. I don't need anything. So it's really interesting. We can, it's a whole other topic, but I would recommend people do some research on the carnivore diet.
Okay, brilliant. Thank you. This was amazing.
Thank you.
I will let you get on with your day. I hope your course will go well. Let me know when you're launching that. I'll respread that over my socials as well, so people know about that, because I think it's much needed. And I'm sure that a retreat will come off the back of that, and all the rest of it, because I think that women are doing this over here. I think there is a time when men and women need to come together and really start to understand each other and do that in a safe place. So I hope that everybody's enjoyed this. Please leave a comment, please share. And I just want to plug, actually blatantly, I just want to plug my, I've redone the podcast, Talking Minds podcast, because it kind of segues. We were talking at the moment about lazy likers and mental masturbators. So basically people who just consume content but then never share goodness. And we were talking about the negative narrative, which is what we were talking about the toxicity that's out there at the moment. So if you found that this conversation has nourished you, then please share it with other people so they can be nourished as well. Because we're both here to try and serve people and open people's hearts and minds up to maybe a different way of thinking and feeling, so we can make the world a better place. So with that, thank you very much.
Thank you very much for having me.
It's now tomorrow, so I'm going to go to bed.
Please sleep well and nourish yourself, and we'll do this again, I'm sure.
Awesome. All right, thank you.
All right, thank you.
Bye.